This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
I'm Mike Hebert, owner of Cantex Roofing and Construction. Every day is game day, and we'll get it right when it comes to your roofing, construction, windows, and mirrors. Call Cantex Roofing and Construction today. Together, we are one serving you.
We get this from the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Hey, Coach Gerlich, hope you are listening this morning. She is a listener of this fine radio program, by the way. Lady Raiders get the W tonight. Hashtag Red Raider Nation behind you all, the 100%. Hashtag Wreck Texas. And then with a basketball, and then with an orange dot and a black dot a red dot and a black dot for the Lady Raiders.
Nice.
How about that? How about that? So there you go. All right, 6:31 this morning here on the Morning Drive. Thoughts, comments, Yates Flooring Center chat line. Go to WT973.com for that, or the mobile app. Visual Edge IT hotline is open too at 806-771-0973. How about Pop Isaacs with a nice little honor yesterday? It's not so little. I mean, Big 12 basketball player of the week, so that's really cool. He was named that yesterday by the Big 12. He was had a career high of 28 against Sam Houston, and then had a pretty good outing the other night. So that's pretty cool. It's the first weekly conference award for him. And
49 points in 2 games.
Yeah,
it's quite a week. So he's been playing well of late. His outside shot's starting to get going, and his team has needed it.
Had 21. Against North Alabama on New Year's Day. So that's back-to-back 20 points or more for the first time in his career. So it's good. It's good to see him feeling a shot, so to speak, right?
That's what you want.
Yeah, right. He did share that with Raekwon Battle of West Virginia. But still, they're pretty happy about, I'm sure, his play and how things are going. It's
just hard for you to imagine, this team reaching their potential without Pop Isaacs being a big part of it. And his offense kind of, being one of the leaders offensively. I mean, I feel like you have other scorers on this team than him, and I thought he would lead the charge, and he's up there. But there are other options as well. But It's just hard to imagine them being really good with him struggling with the shot. Sure.
So finding it, and maybe he's found it. Maybe it was delivered to him by Santa Claus on Christmas morning. Put in his stocking. Hey, we're going to find your shot for you.
Okay.
There you go. Really haven't had a chance to talk about this. I thought it was really just odd. We don't really don't get into the NBA very much, but did you see this story about the guy from Denver? I think his name's Alex Gordon, who had to miss some games because of his dog biting him in the face and getting stitches and stuff like that.
I did see the story.
He blamed it on
Aaron Gordon, not Alex Gordon.
Aaron Gordon. I'm sorry.
Alex Gordon played for your team. The Royals.
Oh, that's right.
He's a baseball player.
He's a baseball player. Yeah. Well, I certainly wasn't thinking baseball. Anyway, he blamed it on too much eggnog, and he was roughhousing with his dog, and it's like, okay, too much eggnog. I mean, I would think that you would really have to spice up the eggnog to put yourself in that position, or like I said, that seemed like I guess you could get into that situation. Jeff, have you ever had too much eggnog when you were playing with your dog?
I mean, most of the time when I've had eggnog, it's been here. And Johnny Mace made some pretty strong eggnog back in the day.
Sure.
So I could see someone having a couple of cups of that and not realizing that it's half whiskey. I think it's what Johnny's measurements were. And if you're roughhousing with your dog, things can happen. Sure.
Yeah.
But, that's when you and your dog have to know when to draw the line and not get that drunk when roughhousing.
I would think that probably your dog, Winfield, he wouldn't, no matter how much eggnog you had, probably couldn't get riled up enough to put you in a position where you would be unavailable for this fine radio program?
Any dog has the potential to get angry and do damage to someone, especially if you're sticking your face near his face. So I don't drink eggnog, so I don't feel like that's really likely to happen.
That's what I thought.
I also don't throw my dog around or do anything to make him that mad. He's also every bit of 14 pounds or whatever.
Right. So you would feel like that you would be able to handle that pretty good.
I mean, an angry dog's an angry dog. You've seen stories of small dogs that are protecting their owners or whatever and can do some damage, whatever. But that's the whole story is believable. I'm imagining that Aaron had a good-sized dog that was capable of doing damage, and if you're overserved, as you like to say, it's possible that you don't know exactly. You're doing things that aren't real smart, and he probably was too rough with the dog, and the dog turned into the animal that he ultimately is.
Right.
And so it's hard to blame it too much on the dog, but I don't know the story. Maybe the dog's been ferocious before.
Ferocious.
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea.
I'll bet it was a Chihuahua, though.
Yeah.
Because those things are vicious.
Anyway, I saw that and just thought I'd pass that along to you guys.
It's a sad story as far as I'm concerned. You hate that it happened to him, and I'm glad to hear that he's not necessarily blaming the dog.
No,
to a certain degree, unless the dog really is a ticking time bomb and he's just making up an excuse to make sure that the dog doesn't, face the consequences.
Big 12 basketball last night. Kansas State beats Chicago State 62-55, and number 18 Baylor takes down Cornell 98-79. Okay, so that was last night.
Looks like a conference that is full of tough games.
Yeah.
It's not going to be an easy one.
Chicago State is going back to back in the Big 12. They traveled from Manhattan to Stillwater, or will today, depending on what their deal is. They'll play Oklahoma State tonight.
Making some money
at Gallagher-Iba. Yeah, Chicago State 7-13, Oklahoma State 17-5. They're 17.5-point favorites tonight.
So back-to-back nights. They're going to play.
Yeah, back-to-back. I don't know if there was any. I don't know if there was any kind of. What do they call it in the NBA when the player rests?
Load management.
Load management. That's the word I was looking for. Thank you. I don't know if there's any load management going on with Chicago State going into tonight's game. It feels like K-State is not the same as what they were a year ago. Of course, they lost one of their best players because they kicked him off the team, and he promptly became eligible at Memphis. But just when you kind of look at the Big 12 right now, Houston's at the very top at 13-0 in non-conference play, and then BYU is right there with Kansas and Oklahoma in terms of just records now at 12-1. So maybe it's a situation where the newcomers in the Big 12 are going to have more of an impact in men's basketball than what the newcomers did in football.
I think that's fair to say. Well, right off the bat, you have a team in Houston, and you put
top five team,
4 or 5. So
they're ranked third right now.
Yeah, so that's right off the bat, you have a highly ranked team there. So I think that would make you say yes. As far as on the men's basketball side of things, obviously on the women's basketball side of things, they were picked 11 through 14. So
right.
Not going to make as much impact there. But nobody was really a factor during football season, as far as those new teams go. So it'd be hard to imagine that Houston would be less than that.
Right. And then even...
And then BYU's ranked, or they have been ranked.
They're ranked, they're 12th.
Still ranked, yeah, okay. So, yeah, it feels like in basketball it's going to be a bigger immediate impact than it has been than it was for football.
I am curious about Cincinnati. They're 11-2. And even UCF is 9-3. I wouldn't expect those teams to be, at least UCF. I wouldn't expect UCF to be much of a contender. But you never know until you kind of see the whites of their eyes, so to speak.
Your daily dose of sports and fun. This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Time for this day in sports history. Today is January 3rd, 2024. Here is Jeff McGuire.
Going to start in 1971. The very first AFC and NFC championship games took place.
Mm-hmm.
The AFC saw the Baltimore Colts beat the Oakland Raiders 27-17. And in the NFC, the Dallas Cowboys beat the San Francisco 49ers 17-10. 1983, Tony Dorsett stands in the backfield. He receives the ball. He ends up in the end zone after a 99-yard touchdown run to defeat the Minnesota Vikings 31-27.
Nice.
1991, Wayne Gretzky becomes the fastest and youngest player in NHL history to score 700 goals. Took him just 886 games at the age of 29 years, 342 days. So he's got a birthday coming up soon.
As good as he was, I'm actually surprised it took that long.
Yes.
I feel like this time of year, almost every day, we could have a Wayne Gretzky moment.
He's the Babe Ruth of hockey, yeah. Where, we could probably talk about Babe Ruth every day in this day in sports history.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot I don't do because we talk about so much Babe Ruth during the summer.
Okay.
1993, the comeback. This is when Jamie and I are on opposite sides of the world. Buffalo Bills come back from a 32-point deficit to defeat the Houston Oilers 41-38 in overtime in a wild card playoff game. The greatest comeback in NFL history.
That was fun.
Not if you were an Oilers fan. And in
I didn't know that you used to be an Oilers fan.
I was up until someone mentioned he was going to be moving the team. And that is when I became a Cowboy fan.
Okay.
You switched your allegiance, huh?
Well, I no longer had a team.
Oh, that's fair.
My team and I was darn sure not rooting for those people anymore.
He was a free agent.
He was free agent.
He was allowed to hit the transfer portal.
He was in the portal, which, by the way, the portal door closed at midnight.
Oh, good.
So if you were thinking about it...
Dang it, I missed my chance.
Yeah. Well, you always have a chance, I guess.
And in 2017, trailing by 2 points, Naeem Stevenson found Anthony Livingston, who calmly swished the go-ahead three-pointer with 4.6 seconds remaining, to deliver the final punch of a drama-filled 77-76 overtime triumph for the Texas Tech men's basketball team over number 7, West Virginia.
Anthony Livingston, I'd forgotten about him.
One of the best headbands in Texas Tech basketball history.
Happy National Chocolate-Covered Cherry Day.
I like cherries. I don't know that I've ever had a chocolate-covered cherry.
I'll take the chocolate-covered strawberry.
Yeah, I'm with Jamie on that. Yeah.
Over the chocolate-covered cherry.
Yeah.
Now, if we're talking about cherry cordial, where it's got the sugary cream in the middle of it too, that my grandfather gives those around Christmas time. Like if you go to his place.
Okay.
Usually in the freezer. They're really good. Happy birthday, former Red Raider basketball player Jason Sasser, 50 today.
Yeah.
50. Wow. He's one of your classmates.
That makes sense. He was going to school and I was going to school.
Yeah.
Mel Gibson, 68. Michael Schumacher, 55. Eli Manning, 43. Jim Ross, 72. And Cheryl Miller is 60. And in this day, in 1834, a group of colonial leaders met to draft a constitution that would create a new Anglo-dominated Mexican state of Texas. The colonists hoped that their decreasing influence of native Mexicans, whose culture and loyalties were more closely wedded to Mexico City, would argue more effectively for the American-style reforms. Once they had hammered out the new Constitution, the colonial leaders directed Stephen F. Austin to travel to Mexico City to present it to the government, along with a list of other demands. Austin ceded to the will of the people, but President Santa Anna refused to grant Texas separate status and threw Austin in prison on suspicion of inciting an insurrection on this day in 1834. When he was finally released 8 months later in August, Austin found that Anglo-American colonists were on the brink of rebellion. And that is this day in sports history.
You'll have more on that as the year kind of goes on.
Yeah.
Goes on, right? All right, this day in sports history.
I don't get it all, but I don't miss much Texas history.
All right, 6:52 this morning here on the Morning Drive. David Ortiz, Jamie, and his girlfriend, Maria Yarabel Martinez, are expecting their first child. My guess is that you and Mrs. Lent, when you were getting ready to have babies, did not do a gender reveal, a big party, and, do something where you would...
You didn't get the invite?
Have a big gender reveal. And my guess is the gender reveals, I think, are more popular today than they were when your kids were born.
That's a shock, isn't it?
It's
just a shock that people of today want to dramatize things and draw attention to themselves more than they did 20 or 30 years ago. That's the shocker of the day.
So, Ms. Martinez...
We did not do gender. We didn't even find out until the babies came out.
Until the babies were born. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Ortiz and Ms. Martinez decided to do a gender reveal. And what it was going to be is Ms. Martinez was going to throw a baseball and David Ortiz was going to swing and hit it. And then the ball would explode and it would either reveal a boy or a girl, pink or blue. Okay.
And instead, it just revealed steroids.
No, it did not. It did not.
Steroids flew out of it.
That's funny. He swung and he missed. Okay, and then when the ball hit the ground, the blue came out of the baseball. But the point was, he swung and he missed. He got jammed inside.
I've heard that. She really spots her fastball well. So.
We'll probably reach.
There's a lot of swing and miss to his game.
There's something I really want to say here, but
he should have had Mariano Rivera throw it, and then he sure wouldn't have missed then. See, I had to do it to myself.
You had to do it to yourself.
Yeah.
You had to do it to yourself. 6:54 this morning here on the Morning Drive. Thoughts, comments, Yates Flooring Center chat line. Go to
Do you think the love that everybody has for Big Papi, he's fun-loving guy, big charismatic guy, do you think it changes if, it's brought out that he was one of the guys that was using? Just like, do you think the love that the Ranger fans have for Pudge, do you think that changes if we just don't all ignore that?
I think with both those guys, so much time has passed in terms of kind of how they're endeared.
Yeah, I'm not saying bring it out now, but if it was brought out then, like it was brought out then with other guys in the Mitchell Report.
Yes.
If we didn't ignore it,
David Ortiz would not be on TV.
Yeah.
And Pudge would not be.
A-Rod's still on TV. Well, he's done way worse than Big Papi.
Yeah, I think
even Yankee fans like Big Papi. It's just, he's a good guy.
I think there would be a step back from what it is now, where he's like universally beloved. It would be, we love him, but he used steroids. I think that's how it would go, because he is such a fun-loving, fun-natured guy that's the kind of guy you want to hang out with.
But A-Rod, he plays his arrogance well. It's kind of his shtick. You just kind of accept it and go, that's A-Rod. And David Ortiz, I don't think he would be as beloved or lovable. I think you're right on that.
I think that he is a little bit.
I think he plays off of that quite a bit. I think he's universally loved for just his character and his demeanor.
The Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3 is presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Good morning with Jamie Lent and Jeff McGuire. I'm Chuck Heinz. We'll have Lady Raider basketball for you on the air tonight. They take on Texas. 5:30 the broadcast time, 6 o'clock from United Supermarkets Arena. We'll have it for you on 100.7 The Score and 107.7 Yes FM. Look forward to that. the last time that the Lady Raiders started conference play at 2-0, they beat Oklahoma State on January 4th, 2012 at 58-53, and then beat Missouri. They were in the Big 12 then on January 7th, 2012, 69-63. So that's 12 years ago.
Okay.
Last time you started 2-0. The last time that you started 1-0 with a road victory was 2013. So it's been a little bit of a struggle for this team. Last year, Tech won at home on January the 18th over Texas, 68-64, and then lost about 2 or 3 weeks later, February 8th, lost down there 80-71. Okay? So the overall series more than favors Texas, 78-32, but in the last 6 years, it's been 3-3, and prior to that, you'd lost 4 in a row or more. That's what.
When you say 6 years, it's 3-3 at home.
No, in the last 6 meetings, I should say.
6 meetings.
Last 6 meetings. So the last 3 years, you're 3-3. You won at home twice and won away once.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So what's your confidence level for tonight?
I think it grows if Taylor Jones isn't playing. So if Taylor Jones isn't playing, I'll say 65%. Because she's their leading scorer and their leading rebounder.
65, okay. If she plays?
50 at best. I mean, you'd have to play lights out. But I think it's very possible. But you're going to have to take care of the basketball. You cannot turn the ball over 20 plus times.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot let them have the points off turnovers like they've been getting. I mean, in the non-conference, they're averaging 30 points off turnovers. Yeah. And then the other thing, and this is kind of a new stat that I'm following, and I've kind of gotten turned on to it by the Tech coaches. It's the percentage of rebounds back off of missed shots. So your percentage of second chance opportunities. Okay, so Texas right now, they get 52% of their missed shots back. They get 17 offensive rebounds a ball game on average.
Big number.
That's a big number. Lady Raiders right now are getting 14 offensive rebounds and getting 42 of their shots back. The Texas opponents are getting 28.
So what's the national average? Or
I have
what's a
no
good
idea.
number?
That's a great question. I don't know. I don't know what the. I know that
if you're going to use it, you kind of need to know, like, are we good at it or are we bad at it? Are the Lady Raiders, is that number of 41%, whatever you said, 42%?
That's a really good number. What I was going to tell you is the goal for the Lady Raiders on Saturday against Houston was to hold them to 25%.
I feel like that's a big number. I feel like 41% of all missed shots that you get a rebound on. Mm-hmm. I think that seems extremely high to me. I would think if you were getting 1 out of 3 misses back, mm-hmm. that's a good solid number.
You're getting 11 second chance points a ball game, but Texas right now is getting 18 second chance points per ball game. That's a big number. You can't give that up.
So here's something I'm going to tell you that's going to be a little bit out there.
Okay.
Watching the game on Saturday, I kind of hated to see Jada Wynn have her like big time coming out party against Houston, because I feel like you could have used it more.
Yeah, against Texas.
Yeah. And I feel like it opened the eyes of the rest of the conference and saying, hey, this girl can really stroke her from outside, and so we have to make sure that we're not doubling off of her or whatever, leaving her open, and so there's no kind of element of surprise where. They kept saying during the game, this girl averages 3 points a game, and now she's got 20 points or whatever. You would have loved that. You kind of need one of those when you're pulling off a big upset against somebody. And
well, she had
I know she's shot it well of late. I get it. Yeah, I get it. But I mean, that was a little bit eye opening.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I mean, and she has gotten better as the season has gone on because she had a good game against UC Irvine against her dad's team. Her dad's an assistant coach for UC Irvine, and Tech had won that game 60-54, and she'd had a good night. The other thing is she had been injured in the off season, and so they've kind of expected her play to get better.
Sure.
As we've kind of progressed with the season, trying to get into basketball shape and getting her confidence up, and the other thing that they really wanted to see on Saturday is you've been too much of your production from a point standpoint was coming from Bailey Maupin and Jasmine Shavers. And so they needed a third player to really kind of step up, or somebody to step up to kind of relieve that pressure from Shavers and Maupin, because they were at almost 50% of your production.
And Kyla's still right around double figures.
She is. Kyla's at 9.9, and where you're getting a lot with her is her rebounding. I mean, she leads the team in rebounding. She's averaging almost 10 a ball game, and she gets a ton of offensive rebounds for you. But like right now, if you look at the three sophomores, Maupin, Shavers, and Jada Wynn, who's a sophomore as well, they account for 61% of your 3-point makes, and they account for 75% of your free throws made. So they got to have some extra help, and that's got to come from Jordan Merritt, Elena Enrique, because those are the other two that are playing the most, and then Logan Johnson, the freshman. I think they really like her. They really like her. So we'll see what. So I think you have an opportunity tonight, but I think you've got to play really good. You can't get down in the first quarter like they have been doing. They didn't do that Saturday in Houston. They did a great job coming out and they want to be the team that kind of hits in the mouth first. Somebody asked, is this a tourney team? It's a postseason tournament team right now, I think, between the NIT and the NCAA. I think you're going to have to win 8 games minimum on the Big 12. It's doable, but you have to play pretty good basketball every night. I mean, you can't. This would be a game. I think this would be a game that if you win this game, you kind of feel like you steal one, because you've got Texas tonight and then you got Kansas on Saturday. And I think if you split these games, then you would feel pretty good about kind of where you are for the first 3 games of the season in Big 12 play. Because Kansas was a team that won the NIT last year. They have some losses, but they have some of their big players back as well. I mean, they had some losses in the transfer portal that they didn't necessarily expect, but they've got some production back that makes it difficult to play them. So that'd be my thought. Would be you split this week, you feel pretty good about kind of where you are heading into next week, where you go to Oklahoma State and to Oklahoma, and again next week feel like opportunities there to win at Oklahoma State, and maybe you have a chance to win 2 next week. So you might have a chance to win 2 next week. So
that'd be big.
So I think it's one game at a time. But I mean, you win tonight against a top 10 team, albeit they're injured. It's still a top 10 team. But they're not
at full strength.
Even though they're not.
But you'll be happy to take advantage of that.
Absolutely. The girl to watch out for
where you're not.
The girl to watch out for tonight is Madison Booker. She is a freshman. She is the preseason freshman of the year in the Big 12. And right now she's averaging 13, but she had 25 the other night against Baylor. Mm-hmm. And she is big, and she'll run the show. She's 6'1", so she'll be a person really to contend with tonight. If you can contain Booker, and they don't have Taylor Jones, you're going to win the ball game, especially if you don't turn it over. But you got to take care of the basketball tonight.
The Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3 is presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Time now for Jamie's question of the day on Lubbock Sports Station, Double T 97.3.
All right, very simple question for you today.
Good. I was hoping for an easy one.
All right, I didn't mean for yesterday's.
You didn't say easy. You said simple.
It's different. I didn't mean for yesterday's to be so difficult, so I'm going to make sure dumb it down a little bit.
You got to play to the crowd, yeah.
Okay. So I want you to tell me, if this Red Raider men's basketball team is going to make the postseason, who's the player that needs to step their game up?
Well, for me, I think you got to be better around the rim. I just feel like that, whether it's rebounding wise or finishing wise, you've got to be better at the rim, and I think that starts with Warren Washington. He was better the other night, but I just wonder when you get into Big 12 play and you get into the physical nature of it, and we're going to find out starting on Saturday when they play at Texas. Can he? I don't want to use the word man up, but can he be stronger at the rim? Because I feel like that you haven't finished at the rim.
Okay.
Chuck kind of stole my answer, so I'm going to go with my backup, and this feels a little ridiculous from what happened, yesterday. But I'm putting Pop Isaacs as my second guy on this list. Yes, I know he's the reigning Big 12 Player of the Week, and all credit to what he did last week. But if they're going to take that next step, we've seen situations where he's done this. I think if they're going to the Keenan Evans type guy at times, where you've got that reliability, where it's not just the, hey, I've got 28 this week, and then a couple of games before he had 12 kind of concept, like the consistency that needs to be there. And I'm not saying he's got to score 28 a game, but the consistency needs to be elevated if this team's going to make the tournament as a second option.
I am 100% buying what Jeff McGuire is selling here. Okay, I know what Pop Isaacs has done scoring wise. Okay, but he's your go-to guy, and he's shooting 36% from the floor and 28% from 3-point range. He's and to me, he's trending in the right direction here, where he's done better. This over the last week or so, and that's why he's the Big 12 Player of the Week. Maybe last couple of weeks, he's done it. Okay, so if Pop Isaacs is doing what he's been doing, I don't expect him to score 50 a week.
Sure.
Okay, but if he's shooting a much higher percentage, then I think you've got a much better chance to be a more consistent offensive team. I think that forces defenses to focus on him a little bit more, and opens things up for other guys, all the above. But I just think he's got to shoot it better than he has over the course of the full season. If you want to tell me he's going to do what he's been doing the last 2 weeks, then I'm saying, yeah, just keep doing that. Okay. But I do think it's Pop. I think Pop is the answer here. Again, I think he's done good things. I still think he's been really productive for you. I still think this team's doing a great job of moving the ball. I just expected him to be more money when it comes to shooting threes than he has. Again, I would guess he probably would say the same thing, shooting at 28%, okay, or 28.9, so 29%. He would expect that percentage to be up, and I think it's a different deal if he's knocking in threes at a much higher rate.
Okay. Pop right now is 62 of 164. Oh, no, that was last year. Sorry.
66 of 185.
Thank you.
28 of 97 on threes.
Thank you. I was trying to pull that up real quick and picked the wrong year. I knew as soon as I said that, I was like, wrong.
But again, I still think he's done good things this year, and I still think, he's been one of your best players this year. And what he did last week was very well deserving of the Big 12 Player of the Week. He just needs to keep doing that.
Somebody says he's already trending man, which I think Jeff alluded to that.
I think I used that word.
Yeah, and you did. And this person points out 11, 9, 19, 18, 28, and 21.
Hey, it's not all about the points you score. It's how efficient are you doing it. Okay, you want your guy, your leading scorer, to be shooting better than 35% from the floor. Okay, and if you are considered to be a great shooter, Davide Moretti was shot what at the 3-point line? Like 45%.
Yeah, he was really good.
29 to 45 is a big difference.
Sure. This from the Yates Flooring Center chat line. I like Chance and Kerwin. They are your true outside shooters. I like Pop for penetration and good outside shots.
Mm-hmm. I think Pop has done a better job of putting the ball on the floor and getting to the rim this year, and you can see that by the number of free throws that he's shot this season. He's second on the team, just one behind Joe Toussaint. He's already taken 58 threes. So.
Yeah.
58 free throws, I should say.
Let's also remember that if Pop were to continue his incline, you're also inclining on your competition that you'll be facing. It's no longer the non-conference schedule that you could take a nap with. Mm-hmm. So him even just staying where he's at now would be an incline when you factor in who you've been facing.
Yeah.
And who you're going to face with Texas and Houston and Kansas. I mean, we can go through the list of the Big 12 teams that are in front of you, that if he just continues to do the 21 points a game, I would consider that him playing better than he has been recently, because you rewind that type of play, he's getting 40 a night.
Did you say, as Pop goes, so go the Raiders?
Did I say that?
I think, I'm sorry, he says, do you say, as Pop goes, so go the Raiders?
It doesn't have to be that way, because I think you have enough talented players around him. Mm-hmm. But I definitely think he's a key factor in that. Like, most times when he's shooting well, your offense is probably flowing pretty well.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then somebody says this from the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Robert Jennings needs to step it up to give Washington some rest. He's a lot better if he's rested.
Yeah, it just kind of adds to Chuck's point about in the post and being physical and being able to handle Big 12 play and all that. I would include Jennings into that conversation. Mm-hmm. I've been happy with the way he's been. It feels like getting more minutes and earning those minutes and being physical and being a presence in there. So I hope he keeps trending in the right direction too. And then somebody on the chat line had mentioned the two shooters, and they're definitely X factors for this team in McMillan and Walton. Mm-hmm. They definitely are. It kind of feels like you don't need both of them on every night, but you need one of them.
Yeah,
you need one of them to be knocking down threes.
Mm-hmm. This person says this. I think this team is at least a second round NCAA team. Mark it down here. Okay, I'm going to do that. Okay. I'm gonna mark it down. I'm gonna put it in the big book, and we'll see what happens. I discovered some things in the big book that I've got to go back and look at. That some things I said, okay, we're going to do this, at least a couple things, and then I've got something I've got to make sure I put in my big book for Groundhog Day. That if I see my shadow, do we have 6 more weeks of basketball season for both the Red Raiders and Lady Raiders?
If you see your shadow.
If I see my shadow,
okay,
we'll have 6 more weeks of basketball season.
You realize you work in a room with a bunch of lights? There's almost a guarantee you will see a shadow.
I know, but I mean, I would go outside and I'd get out of the trees. And I got to make sure that I'm not in the parking lights too, right?
And that it's not noon.
What time does the...
Are we bothered by the fact that, what's his name, Puxatawny Phil or whatever?
Right.
Is getting more public than you?
No, I'm not bothered by that. No, I'm not bothered.
I mean, we're trying to steal his limelight.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of his deal, man.
I know, but we talked about last year.
Don't we have Prairie Dog Pete too? I mean, like, we got a local guy that you're jumping in on his credit there.
I'm not talking about 6 more weeks of winter. I'm talking
you're talking about 6 more weeks of basketball.
6 more weeks of basketball. Okay. That's what I'm talking about. Somebody says this: will you be wearing a shirt or not when looking for your shadow? I'd be a little chilly outside.
Probably would be.
Go without a shirt. I'm not really in the shape that I want to be in right now, so I'm not in shirtless shape right now. But I'm gonna get into shirtless shape. I just want you to know that.
Your daily dose of sports and fun. This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Drive. Good morning with Jamie Lent, Jeff McGuire. I'm Chuck Heinz. Great to have you with us. Yates Flooring Center chat line is open. Go to the Double T 97.3 mobile app, presented by Happy State Bank, and you can participate there. We missed something in this day in sports history. Not that we're going to get everything in this day in sports history, but 62 years ago today, they broke ground for the Astrodome in Houston. Okay. They have a little banner made in cursive, written "World's First." Well, it's not cursive; it's script. Maybe my cursive. World's first air-conditioned domed stadium groundbreaking, January 3rd, 1962. And you know how they did it? Instead of using shovels, you know what they did?
They used those sporks that Jeff was just talking about.
Nope. They used Colt 45s and they shot them into the dirt.
Okay.
I hope they made sure there weren't any rocks in there. Go, bing! Then get one of those.
That would never fly in 2023.
Dignitaries
2024.
No. But it turned out pretty good though for the old Astrodome. All right, so I'm in.
You know why they use Colt 45s?
Yeah, because they were the Colt 45s.
Okay,
yeah.
That was the part of the story you didn't tell that we were sitting with. So I was making sure that you did in fact know.
Yeah, they were the
why.
Colt 45s at the time, and they changed the name to the Astros because of all the space stuff that was taking place in Houston at the time.
There was a lot of it. Still is. Still quite a bit.
The Manned Space Center there, now named after.
They would have had to have changed anyways eventually.
Yeah, if the Washington Bullets can't be the Washington Bullets, which is they were a better team when they were the Bullets. Now that they're just, I don't know what.
When was the last time they were a good team?
When they were the Bullets.
When? Yeah, when was it?
Like the late 70s, early 80s.
They were the Bullets for a long time after that, and they were terrible.
And they were terrible, right? Yeah. All right, so I'm doing some Red Raider baseball work, and I'm needing some tidbits for folks.
You are.
Yeah. Well, okay. I mean, I'm doing some, having some conversations with folks about Red Raider baseball. And what if you compared today to a year ago, how much better is this team? Just 20,000-foot view of what you're viewing as this upcoming season, 44 days from now?
I guess I would tell you that you have a lot more knowns in the lineup, and you feel like you have a lot more depth in the pitching staff.
And we don't necessarily have the injuries per se.
Well, the season hasn't started.
Well, that you had maybe a year ago. Didn't you have some concerns going into the season last year from a pitching standpoint where you knew that you were already going to be down an arm here or there?
Jack Washburn had injured himself in the fall, and you weren't going to have him. So I guess, yeah.
Do we have him this year?
We do.
Okay. Mm-hmm. We're expecting good things from him.
We sure are.
Okay. Mm-hmm. There's one. Who else are we expecting good things from a pitching standpoint?
Well, I think that there's just so many different guys that right now I think are in contention for the starting rotation. And guys that we saw last year, it's hard for me to want to pinpoint anybody as a starter. And the reason I say that is because Coach Tadlock, as we've seen before, a lot of times he'll take his best pitcher or second best pitcher and make them a reliever. But I think that you can pencil in Kyle Robinson to the Friday spot. And he was actually your Friday starter last year on opening day and did not pitch well, and a few weeks later was out of the rotation. But the way he finished last season looks like he kind of had worked through some things, and he looks like an ace. He looks like a Friday night guy. So it would be hard to imagine him not being a starter. Zane Petty, another guy that was a freshman last year that pitched a lot on the weekends, pitched in the midweek some. Zane early on in the season last year, just kind of wild within the strike zone and was pretty hittable. But as the season went along, just got better and better and threw really well in the postseason. So I would expect Zane to be a guy that is in the mix there for a starting weekend spot. Washburn, who we just talked about, he's got lots of experience, and if you don't know, that's Owen's older brother. He transferred from Ole Miss, where he won a national championship, and he sat last year because of the injuries. But he's been primarily a reliever in his career, but there's potential there that he could be a starter. I think those are the three guys that really jump out at you.
Feels like Zane Petty's been here more than a year.
Oh, just a sophomore this year.
No, I know, but I mean, just with as much conversation as there's been about him.
Yeah, he was a guy that got drafted, and a lot expected of him. And like I said early on, it just felt like he was missing too much over the heart of the plate and was getting hit pretty hard. But love what you have coming back in the bullpen, and Sanders and Bridges and Free, some really veteran arms. Lysick, another one, some veteran arms. Trendon Parrish will be back in the mix as a starter or a reliever. I mean, he's been successful in both spots. Other guys that we saw a lot of last year that were kind of forced into a role as freshmen, and Tabor Fast and Jacob Rogers, a lefty or righty there. I think those two, if they keep progressing in the right direction, can be really good for you. So there's just a lot of guys and that's not really even talking about like a Max Huffling, the guy that transferred from ACU that just dominated you when he pitched against the Red Raiders. Adding him to the mix, I expect him to be a bullpen guy. There's just a lot of arms that you feel good about heading into the season.
Somebody asked us, do we have a dominant closer this year?
Yet to be determined. I mentioned those three guys. I don't. It's been pretty rare that Texas Tech has had just one guy.
Yeah.
I guess you would have put McMillan back there. Is some of that. Beater, his freshman All-American season.
Big John.
But those three bullpen arms that I just mentioned, I think are guys that, are going to kind of share that role. Just kind of depends.
Have you ever caught a bullpen for any of the guys and given them some tips? Like talking to Zane Petty about, hey, maybe you need to get it over the plate a little bit more.
I really do stay in my lane, okay?
Do you think
I think Coach Tadlock would worry for my safety.
If you caught bullpen?
Yes, I would.
You don't think he'd ever throw you back there and do that? Hey, Jamie, grab a glove. We're a man down.
Coach Tadlock is probably just can look at me and see my lack of athleticism and feel like, I don't know that Jamie could, I don't know if that's his skill set.
I don't know that I would want to try to catch a 100-mile-an-hour fastball.
If I had the gear on, I wouldn't mind. But don't throw me anything off speed that I have to get down in the dirt and that thing's going to bounce up and hit me in the gut or the chin or whatever.
Who do you think would have a better crouch behind home plate, you or Hacks?
Hacks. I mean, he's been a catcher.
I know, but don't you think like you're a little more flexible than Hacks?
Probably, but he's done it before. Did you not see that catch he made in the booth?
I saw it. Yeah.
It was perfect catcher for him.
I saw it.
Reached out and grabbed it like he was snapped right there.
Yeah.
Bang the microphone.
Framing it.
Yeah, framing it. Yeah. Bang,
Yeah.
Bang. 8:24 this morning here on the morning drive. I think
Hacks probably would prefer to do it like they do in batting practice where they have the guy back there sitting on a bucket. He probably would prefer that.
Sitting on a bucket.
Rather than having to, crouch.
I don't want to give Hacks too big of a head, but as we were getting off the bus the other day, Coach Gerlich asked Fink and I if there was anything that we said when we made a three, and we got nothing. Like, no. We got nothing.
That's not true.
Fink will say yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. But no, bang. I think she wanted a bang. So I don't know. We might get traded.
Well, we can't all be Jeff Haxton.
Jeff Haxton.
We need some minions too, right?
Right. We're definitely minions.
I mean, if we're not just mediocre, who's to judge Hax by and say, "Oh, wow, he's so much better"?
Yeah. Greatness.
Yeah. I do think Fink's got a better and one though with Bailey Maupin. Bailey Maupin.
He gets excited. That's for sure. Somebody said this would love to catch bullpen for Tadlock. Okay. I'm sure there'd be plenty of takers, guys out there that would say, "Hey, sign me up for some of that." Yep. But you're very comfortable in your role.
Yeah, I mean they have people that are
that do
on
that?
staff and are student trainers and all that. They don't need me.
This has been the Morning Drive Podcast, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Check out our library of Double T 97.3 podcasts at doublet97.3.com.